So, Trump returns from China and says the following.
President, who benefited more from the trip?
That was a great success. It was fantastic. We made great deals. We did great trade deals. We had great relationships. And a lot of things have happened that you'll be hearing about them. But that was a tremendous success. I think it really was a historic moment. Thank you very much.
It was a tremendous success. Historic trade deals. Big success. Now let's look at the reality of the situation.
Soybean farmers, the President of the United States of America just sent you an IQ test all the way from across the Pacific Ocean in China. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, it was just announced that the President negotiated the quote-unquote framework of a deal for the Chinese to buy 25 million metric tons of soybeans over the next 2 years. Now, the first test question on this IQ test that the President sent you is, do you believe that the framework of a deal is the same thing as a soybean deal? Now, why am I asking this question? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you go back to last year, if you remember, we had a deal for the Chinese to buy 18 million metric tons of soybeans, which ended up with the Chinese not buying those beans by the end of the year as promised, buying them later on in the next year in February, and not buying the amount of beans that they promised that they were going to buy. So question number one on this IQ test that the President sent you is, do you believe that the quote-unquote framework of a deal is the same thing of a deal? Because, listen, he's going to be coming back to the United States telling you what a great thing he did for you. Now, the second question on this IQ test is, do we get enough soybean purchases on this deal compared to what we got under Biden? Because soybean farmers, for the next 2 years, the Chinese are going to buy less metric tons of soybeans than they did all 4 years under Joe Biden. Now, I know how much so many of you like to do your own research. Go back and do your research. The best year under Biden, we sold 30 million metric tons of soybeans. And the other 3 years, we did 26, 27, 28 million metric tons of soybeans. So I want you to understand what the President of the United States did. And this is the third question on the test. He crashed the soybean market, eliminated 40% of the markets overseas. We have 12 farmers every day unaliving themselves because they can't make ends meet because markets have been destroyed. We have the largest increase in purchases in row crops from South America in the history of this country that have happened under this president. And now the president's going to come back and ask you to get down on your knees and thank him for giving you a deal that only lasts 2 years, where we sell less soybeans to the Chinese than we did all 4 years under Joe Biden. All 4 years under Joe Biden. That's your IQ test. Those are your three questions. Now, I'm hoping what you do is you continue to hold this administration accountable. I hope that you make the decision that it is not acceptable that the President of the United States crashed the soybean markets with his tariffs and then came back and negotiated the framework of a deal, not an actual deal, for the Chinese to buy fewer soybeans than they bought all 4 years under Joe Biden. Do you see the pattern here, farmers and ranchers? Do you see what we're dealing with out here in rural America? The president completely destroys an agricultural pipeline, comes back and reestablishes it under the level that it was at before he came into office, and then tells you it's a victory and asks you to be happy that you're getting less than what you had before. I mean, it's reached a point where it's absolutely ludicrous, farmers and ranchers. And we've got nobody to blame but ourselves if we don't call BS on this one. Sure, take the sales, but you better not use this as an excuse to continue to support this president after he crashed those markets and then came back and did a framework of a deal that gives you less than what you were already getting before. And let's be honest, not only are you getting less in volume purchased, but you've got a lower profit margin because of the increase in inputs from the point that Donald Trump came into office and now. Think about it. It is time to push this administration out. It's time to give people a chance who want to do better by farmers and ranchers in rural America, not only by fixing agricultural policy, but by fixing our hospitals and fixing our schools and doing it right now with infrastructure style programs that are going to cause our young people to move back and reestablish our communities out here in rural America. So just like the president likes to talk about all of the different cognitive tests he's passed, here's your IQ test, farmers and ranchers. Let's see how well you do on it.
So the folks with the red hats out there are going to have to explain to the rest of us how this is a success. Especially if you're a soybean farmers. And I've been rather hard on the soybean farmers because by and large, they voted for this administration even after this president did this to him the last time he was in office. But explain it to us. Explain how this is a success to you. Are you selling more soybeans? Are you making more money? Or have you regressed under this administration? How long are farmers going to continue to shoot themselves in the foot politically while seemingly, and I'm going to say it's from my personal experience, my personal opinion, I should say, seemingly voting purely based on emotion? I don't like those people. I don't like these people. I don't like, we want to push them out. We want to build this well. You're not voting with your own best interest even remotely at heart. You're voting based on hatred, and it keeps coming back to bite you in the ass. If you guys want a deeper look into rural Democratic politics, follow Jess Piper from Missouri. These folks are going to tell you about the rural aspect of all of these politics.